talk about one of my favorite topics. It was actually, it's really irrelevant about what I care about. It's actually Krishna's topic. So everything is Krishna Katha, everything is Krishna. So, so before we get started, so as you know, I like to, for a class, like to talk about something that you can actually take and apply to your life when you go home tonight. So I think this will be a little deeper topic, but I think I think everyone will enjoy it. We started yesterday. I was in Fargo doing a home program up in North Dakota, and this came up. It was a deep, very deep conversation, lots of questions. The class was supposed to be only an hour, and it ended up being like an hour and almost 30 minutes. So very curious, very enthusiastic devotees up in North Dakota. And so I thought it was timely, based on some other things happening in our community here, to talk about this topic. So if you the verse is chapter 2, verse 7. So we'll speak about it just a minute here, and then we'll share. So, Om Jnana Tamarandasya Ganajana Shalakaya Chakshurundantamyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hari Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Nimai Nitai ki Jai. So, I'm going to I'll read the translation, and then we'll just talk about the topic. So chapter 2, text 7. So if there's only one Bhagavad Gita chapter that you read in your whole life, read chapter 2, because it's the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. So it's important. As we know, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is the advent of it is tomorrow, so very nice. And Krishna spoke to Arjuna in about, I think it was almost under 3 hours, so 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. Text number 7, the translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. This is Arjuna speaking to Krishna. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So this is a really important verse. I mean, there's lots of important verses, but this is, when I think about this verse, I think about the beginning of my spiritual life, because when I started to think seriously about my spiritual life, right? I started thinking about taking shelter. So before this point, chapter 1, Arjuna is arguing with his friend Krishna, right? They're friends, right? They're peers, and Arjuna is coming up with all these reasons why he shouldn't fight, right? Like they're my teacher, my family, my uncles, relatives, all of these things, right? But in the end, he has to perform his duty, right? But up to this point, he's bewildered until in this verse, he says, I'm bewildered, I don't know what to do, please instruct me. And that is when it changes from a friendship to disciple, teacher, or spiritual master. So this time, when I think about this verse, I think about when I started thinking about taking initiation, right? So, and in our tradition, right, in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that is Diksha initiation, right? But it's a whole process, right? And the whole point is it's not to get the certificate, right? So initiation, the word alone means to begin. So it's when you take on more responsibility, but it's serious responsibility. Up to that point, and the process is very simple, but it's very difficult. like anything in the world, right? So what happens is, I remember the process is it's all about having a relationship with Krishna. So you have to develop a relationship with Krishna, but we can't go directly to Krishna. It says in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We have to go through the disciplic succession. So how do you do that? You get connected in our lineage. You have to get connected and have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. That's the first step, right? In reality, the first step is saying, you know what, I'm kind of sick of this material world. I'm not happy. I want to be happy. So how do you get happy? We know that Lord Chaitanya says, you know, chant the Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So this is the beginning, right? You have to take up the holy name because you're preparing yourself, you're purifying yourself to the point where you have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And how do you do that in the beginning? You do that through books. If you can. If you don't like to read, you can listen. YouTube is amazing, right? I mean, think about back, Jimmy can attest to this, back when Prabhupada was on the planet. They used to mail out and pass around cassette tapes of Prabhupada doing lectures. Right now, you can go on YouTube, you can get any 24/7 a day, right? 365 days a year. It's free. It's even free. Right? It's so simple. But so this is the first step. If you say, you know what, I'm sick of this, Hare Krishna. You know, I'm sick of this, the way my life is going. I'm not happy. And I can attest to that because I went through that. You know, when I was almost 50, I was just like, I was miserable. I was drinking too much. I was going out. I was hanging out with the wrong people. And my whole focus was career. My wife was unhappy. We were very close to splitting up, right? All our kids were grown. Very easy. You know, all the kids are gone. We can just go our separate way, right? And then Krishna arranged for me to get a Bhagavad Gita, and that's when it started. And then I reconnected with my friends Jimmy and Shruni, who are Krishna conscious their whole lives, well, most of their lives. Okay, but like all of us were trying, right? So this is the beginning of spiritual life when you realize this is not fun, right? And then you say, how can I make my life happy? And then I started chanting. So we all started chanting, like we just did kirtan, right? Beautiful kirtan, right? And then later we'll have Krishna Prasad, we'll honor Prasadam, that's been cooked for the lordships here. But the thing is it's your choice, right? We all have free will, so it really comes down to that. So then, then you have this, you start to get this little inkling of desire for Krishna and his holy name. And then you say, okay, what's next? And next, then you say, okay, I want to find a living spiritual master, because as we know, in the Nectar of Instruction, it's very clear that you have to take initiation from a living spiritual master on the planet. It can't be Prabhupada. Prabhupada's no longer here, right? He's our eternal Shiksha Guru, instructing Guru, but he cannot be our Diksha Guru, which is the initiation for the holy name, the Nam, right? So up to this point, you're chanting Hare Krishna, right? You're chanting on beads eventually. And then you're purifying yourself, and Maya is throwing things at you, distracting you. No, don't do that. Watch this, binge on this, BritBox TV show. There's only 10 episodes. There goes like 2 days. And, or do this or do that. And then eventually Maya, you kind of push Maya away by chanting this holy name, and then you say, okay, I want to find a spiritual teacher, right? And so then again, back to YouTube. There's so many wonderful spiritual teachers in ISKCON today. There's actually 108 initiating gurus in ISKCON. Many of them, they're all over the world, right? And you find a person that you're attracted to the way they speak, the way that you can connect with them. Because if you don't connect with your spiritual teacher, that you're that you want initiation, that's going to be a problem. This is an eternal thing, right? It's not just I'm done this lifetime, I'm done, right? And then I get to go back to Godhead. Maybe it's possible, but it's the eternal relationship. It's never ending, right? This is how it works. This is how the parampara works, the disciplic succession. And then you find that spiritual teacher that you just, this is the person, right? It was for me, it was like a lightning bolt. Somebody gave me the Journey Home, which is written by Radha Swami, my Guru Maharaj. And I literally read books, like 5 books at a time, and it takes me 2 years to read all 5 books. I read this in overnight. I couldn't put it down. And I woke up and the next day after sleeping, I said, this is my spiritual teacher. I just knew in my heart. Paramatma, right? Super Soul said, yes, you are connected. This is it. And then it's, how do I meet him? Right? There's this process, and you have to get introduced, and all of these things. These are kind of technicalities that don't matter. But once you do that, then you build a relationship with your spiritual teacher that you are aspiring for. You're aspiring to become a disciple of whoever that person is, right? So in the room today, we have aspiring disciples for Radha Swami. We have for Radha Swami. We have aspiring disciples for Ramapad Swami. We have, let's see, I think no one else is here, but in the Twin Cities, there are disciples of Jayapatak Swami, there are disciples of Srila Prabhupada, there are 2 disciples of Srila Prabhupada in the Twin Cities. They come once in a while. So then there's Mahavishnu Goswami, who left his body in 2010, I think. So we have a whole mix of lots of wonders that are on the planet and no longer. And there's so many more out of that 108 that you can connect with, right? And then Krishna will guide you, just like he guided me. So once this happens, then you have to meet your spiritual teacher that you're aspiring. There's a process for every spiritual. Sometimes you get a mentor, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you know somebody, a devotee a devotee who's a disciple of so-and-so, and then you say, I want to meet the spiritual master. And then they make arrangements, right? Like Sakshi and Sweta, they have brother-in-law and sister, right? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, my sister.
Yeah, your sister and brother-in-law. They're disciples of Radha Swami. So they made arrangements for them to meet Radha Swami. This is how it works, right? Krishna's arrangement. It just doesn't happen. It's, you have a desire, Krishna will deliver, right? So then after that, you meet and then talk, and then you say, you pay obeisances, and you say, please, I aspire to be one of your disciples, or something like that. It's personal. It's different for everybody. Right? But that's basically what you're saying. Maharaj, I want to be my teacher. I want to take initiation from you. Then usually they'll do something like, if it's Krishna's will, or yes, or sometimes they'll say it more cryptically. Sometimes they'll go like this, Shari, right? Ramapad Swami, he does his, I call it jazz hands, he says it's magic. It's Krishna magic, right? So every spiritual teacher is different on how they respond. And then that's when the process really gets kicked into high gear. That's when you're making a commitment. And then now you have to actually prove your commitment. You can't just say, yes, I want to do this, and then you sit for a year or 2 or 3 or 10, sometimes 12 years before you actually get your first initiation, Diksha initiation. And it depends on how committed you are, because it starts with this then. So japa beads, japa mala, right? So this is the life and blood of a devotee. If you never pick up the Bhagavad Gita, if you never read the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you never pick up any Vedas at all, and you just chant Hare Krishna, and you cook for Krishna, and you offer food to Krishna, and then consume that, honor that prasadam, that sanctified food, and associate with devotees, you will become purified and you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. But these are the things you have to do, and it starts with japa. So most spiritual teachers require a minimum of chanting 16 rounds, because what we do is we commit to something, right? So we have to commit before we actually receive initiation, and we have to demonstrate it. And I will tell you, your spiritual teacher, when you meet them, he looks you in the eye, and he can see right into your heart and see who you are and where you're at in your spiritual journey. And depending on that is how long it will take before you receive initiation. And so, at minimum, most, they require a year, 12 months of chanting 16 rounds every day, minimum, and living by the 4 regular principles. And many people are saying, I think, oh my gosh, how could you do that, right? Especially for me as a person who grew up in the United States. So it's no meat eating, no eggs, no fish, right? No flesh of an animal. I was vegetarian for a long time, so it didn't matter. But no illicit sex, no sex outside of marriage. That's usually the biggest stumbling block for many people, because look at our society, free love. It still is. It started in the 60s and it continues today. And then there's no intoxicants, so no alcohol, no caffeine, that type of stuff. And then no gambling, thank you. That's not the one I forgot when I was taking initiation. But I did forget one. And then I remembered eventually. But these are the 4 things. So we follow those regulative principles. We call them the regulative principles of freedom. Because imagine if you're free from all those things, you can focus on what's important, right? And so these are the things, it's usually a minimum of 1 year. But then depending on where you are personally, it could be, for me, it was 4 years before I took initiation. It took me a while because I like to hang on to things, right? I like to hang on, I like to enjoy the material world, but eventually I got there, and my spiritual teacher saw that I was ready. Some people wait longer. So this is the process. It's very simple, but very hard, especially in this material world. But this is the way that you can, in this lifetime, Srila Prabhupada and said, Lord Chaitanya said, you chant this Maha Mantra, you become part of the disciplic succession, and you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Anyway, it's okay. It's okay. I have 4 kids and I have 4 grandkids, so I know it's normal. So, but this is the process, right? And so it's really simple. But the thing is, in this verse, in the purport, it talks about being miserly, right? So you can be miserly, or you can really surrender to Krishna and eventually to a spiritual teacher and take on this life as a Vaishnava, as a Hare Krishna Vaishnava, right? And chant this Maha Mantra and live by the 4 regular principles, but it's your choice. Or you can be miserly with your life, right? And waste it. So it's your choice. But this is where Arjuna is. He surrendered. He says, I am bewildered. I don't know what to do, right? So if you don't know what to do, read this verse, chapter 2, text 7. The purport is very long, or longer, so I'm not going to read it because it would take the whole time. But it's very nice, and you will get some idea of where you may want to go. Because if you don't do it this lifetime, maybe the next one, but there's going to be another and another and another. It probably took me billions of lifetimes to get to the point where I am. And it may probably take a million more before I go back to Godhead, but it doesn't matter because everything that you do in spiritual life goes into your bank account. And then you'll be born the next time I'll be born into a more pious family, maybe a Vaishnava family, and then I can pick up where I left off. And so this is the process. So with that, I want to just share. So in a minute, I'm going to ask Brenda to speak, but it's very exciting. So Ramapat Swami, the reason I'm talking about initiation is because Ramapat Swami was just here. Some people have come up to me inquiring about initiation and what's the process, and which is very exciting. So people are having a desire. This is why it's important when there's a pure devotee coming, like a Swami, a Maharaj, to have association, even if it's just once. You'll get so much benefit, you'll become purified at some level. So through that week, the last weekend, now many devotees are asking, saying, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Like what's the process? Doesn't necessarily mean they're aspiring for Prabhupada Swami, but it doesn't matter. They're ready to think about the next step. And this is really important, right? Because I am grateful. I am so grateful to the mercy of Krishna and all of the devotees that I got initiation because I have a chance. I have a chance. I'm on the other side. I'm connected. As long as I don't screw up and fall into Maya again, I could go back to Godhead, right? So anyways, so I wanted to announce, so Rinda, will raise your hand. Rinda's over there, she's our pujari, right? And so her spiritual master, Bhakti Charu Swami, left his body, he died during COVID. So that's her initiating guru. So so she got her diksha, her non-initiation from Bhakti Charu Swami. So as a pujari, kind of the next step, if you want, it's not required. It's not required because first initiation is the only thing that's required for you to go back to Godhead, right? But you can take second initiation, which is Brahminical initiation, which then qualifies you to be a pujari at a temple. So we're centered. Our deities are not installed. Nivaya Nitai. So we have more flexibility. Also with Nivaya Nitai, they're all merciful. It's Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, right? So it's not required to have second initiation to do worship, deity worship, but it's required to have first. So with this she is going to get second initiation at Prabhupada Swami's Vyasa Puj on Sunday, December 28th, I believe it is. Sunday, December 28th at Chicago Temple, or no, is it Naperville, sorry. And I don't know the names of the deities of Naperville, but they're very beautiful. So it's very exciting. And then, so as an example, I'm going to turn it over to Brenda because she's going to share her journey on initiation because this is the determination. You have to have determination to do this. If it takes 20, I've met devotees, it took 18 years before they received initiation from when they were aspired. So they took shelter of a spiritual teacher and 18 years later they finally took initiation. This is determination and I want to have her share her story.
Hare Krishna. It's a very long journey that I took to get to this point. I started out going to a Hindu mother, learning about Hinduism, because all of this was completely foreign. Different language, different culture, different food, different everything. So I started there in about 1999 or so. And then 2000 hit and everybody was afraid computers are gonna shut down. But I'm not afraid because I hate computers. So great. Anyways, it is through the Hindu mandir that I met devotees. And even all the people going to the Hindu mandir also instructed me, you should go to the God of love, which is Krishna. And I'm like, oh, okay, God of love, wow. I didn't know there was such a thing as God of love, okay. So then I continued to go to Hindu mandir, continued to have association with great Hindus from the Hindu mandir instructing me, and they're the ones that gave me the Bhagavad Gita. I said, great, thank you. But I couldn't understand anything. Like not a single word. I tried to read it, but I'm like, this is complicated. This is confusing. And so just by having that association at Hindu Mandir and then eventually meeting devotees from ISKCON, which was about 5 years after going to the Hindu Mandir, about 2003. And then the devotees asked me to come do home programs. I'm like, okay, I've been to many friends' houses before, this is normal. And so then, as I started going to home programs, I got to know more about the Bhagavad Gita in English. Because at the Hindu Mandir, it was all in Hindi and some strange language, but I continued to listen. And then afterwards, the Hindus would explain to me what they were talking about, so that was very nice. And then, that was in 2004. And then they were explaining me about initiation and what is our ultimate goal of life. And I'm thinking, I just want to know about spirituality. That's what I was thinking and feeling. I want to know more about spirituality and about love of God. Krishna is God of love. I want to learn more about that. Just love, not this service or that service. That was not at all in my mind. And so, I did that for at least about 3 years. Not chanting, not studying Bhagavad Gita, just going to home programs. And it was about 2007 when a group of us devotees from our home programs, we all took a road trip to New Vrindavan, a temple, an ISKCON temple. I said, wow, I've never been to a temple, I've never been to ISKCON center or temple or anything. So then when we reached there, it took us like 3 days to get there. And somehow we took a long road. 3 days, it was quite the journey. But it was so fun to hang out with devotees. Like, they're so fun and energetic and talk about Krishna, God of love. And so then I finally reached Vrindavan. I said, wow, this is gigantic. This is the biggest temple I've seen in my life. They have cows, they have a farm. Oh my gosh. And somehow or other, that's where I was telling myself, I surrender to Krishna, God of love. This is, I surrender myself to you. Not knowing exactly what that meant, not at all. And so then, after surrendering myself in my mind, then we went back home to Minnesota. Then I continued on, and I learned how to do chanting from the New Vrindavan, learned how to do different services. That was really exciting. And after learning and practicing everything, it was about, I'll say, 10 years when I got actually up to 16 rounds. It took me about 10 years to get to 16 rounds, actually. Because I'm not thinking like so in depth about it, just sort of taking it as it comes. And it was about, 10 years. And then that's where I had met His Holiness Dr. Charles Swami. And I had approached him and said, not knowing the procedures, how to approach a guru, I said, will you be my teacher, my spiritual teacher? He said, yes. Oh, okay, thank you. So then we exchanged contacts and we were communicating through email, and I was asking questions and whatnot, sort of getting to know each other like a father. I thought of him as a father, because I'm actually adopted. I'm not with my biological mother or father, I'm adopted. So that was really nice to feel that he's my father, Dr. Charles Swami. I miss him so much. And it was about 2 years later is when I went to New Orleans and Maharaj was there. And so then we caught up with each other. It was nice to see each other in person. And he asked me, would you like to, take, chanting initiation? I said, okay, sure. Think I can handle that. So then, of course, I, not knowing exactly how things work, I talked to the devotees, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. And so, this spiritual consciousness it's a real gradual process. You have to take it on your own level, whether it's super simple or however, it may take 10 years, it may take 2 years, it may take 20 or 30 years even to get the real idea of what Christian consciousness is. And so it was in 4 years later, I went to a retreat where Bhakti Charu Swami was having a Sri Vrindavan retreat talking about Krishna's pastimes and everything. That was ecstatic. And the devotees there, they asked me, Maharaj wants to give you initiation. Okay, cool. And so then somehow magically it all happened. I'm not thinking that I'm going to receive initiation. I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just thinking I just want to get to know the God of love. That's all I want to know. And so then after that, all during these years, His Holiness Dharma Class Swami was coming to Minnesota like every year. So I was listening to his lectures and he was asking me, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing this service, I'm doing that service. It's like, oh, okay, continue. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, I will. And so then, I went through marriage and there was all sorts of problems with that. I was only thinking in my mind, oh, I'd like to have a family, I'd like to be married. That way I'm safe as a woman, to be safe in the world, in this crazy world. And so then, after that, it was about, the pandemic happened and I got divorced and I kind of stepped out of Krishna consciousness for a while because I wanted to rethink, what do I want in my life? What do I want to do? Do I want to continue to be married? Do I want to be a devotee of Krishna? That lasted for about 3 to 5 years. All during the whole pandemic, I moved back home with mom and dad. They eat meat, they smoke, they drink, like all these bad things that we're not supposed to do, right? But somehow, by Krishna's mercy, he made it possible that I still was able to cook my food, my vegetarian food at home. And that was so nice because I can't eat meat. It tastes weird. And so then it was, then I finally moved out of mom and dad's house and then to the apartment that is about 5 houses down from this corner here. And then Ram Kishore Prabhu, he was telling me, oh, we're opening up a center here. We found a really nice place. I think it's close to you. And so then we all came and met over here and said, oh, okay, that must be Krishna's arrangement. Somehow I'm on the same block as the Krishna Center. Oh my gosh. And so, then we continued to provide services here. We continued to do service for Nimai Natai. And it was only February this year when I approached His Holiness Ramapada Swami. I said, I'm wondering, would it be okay to have second initiation? He said, yes. Yes. I see that you're doing a really good job taking care of their lordships. I said, oh, thank you. I'm only doing what I know how to do. I don't know everything. And so then from February onwards, I've been thinking, well, maybe I should study the Shastras and Bhagavad Gita and Nectar of Instructions a little bit more so that I can understand, really show Maharaj, Ramapada Swami, that I'm really trying my best to take care of their lordships. And it was only last weekend, I'm not thinking that I'm going to receive second initiation right away. I'm thinking it might take another 12 years, 12, maybe 20 years. But no, God of love has a different plan. Because Ramapada Swami said he wants me to come to Naperville for his Guru Vyasa puja. Cool. And then the next day when Ramkishore called me, he said that Ramapada Swami wants to give you a second initiation. Oh my God, I was flying through the ceiling and I said, oh my God, really? Oh my God, can't believe it. Not at all. But with Krishna consciousness, it's so nice that you can be yourself and be true to yourself and be true to Krishna. It's that reciprocation, it's that relationship that you have with Krishna's disciples and Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement.
Haribol.
Haribol. Jai Mantai Ki Jai.
Thank you, Brenda.
And then he moved to Naperville. Join the women.
All right, if you want to get up, we're going to do kirtan now. And then we'll finish up tonight with the Shrinker prayer. So there's an example.